Hey everybody, this is Erman Baradi. Thank you so much for checking this video out. For those who know me, you know that I do a lot of entertainment industry events, virtual and live. This year, because it is an election year, I like to. It's I think in everybody's best interest if I extended my platform and rather than just do entertainment, I want to interview people in the community, people who have a platform, who may be running for office, who may have different beliefs from you. But I just want to give people the opportunity to say their beliefs, say what their stances are on certain political issues, and without any interruption. You know, it's just me and a guest. So I just want to give people that opportunity to say what's on their mind without without being interrupted by anyone who may not believe in what you believe. So today we have Major Williams, who is running for governor of California in 2022 against Gavin Newsom. I know it's 2 years away, but we want to get connected to individuals who we can have on in the next 2 years. So it's great to have you, Major. I know that's not your real name, but I still love it. It's a really cool name. So thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Anytime I get a chance to share on any platform, I've been jumping to those opportunities because I think it's so important that we do have 2 years away, but it's going to take a lot of work in building that rapport and that relationship to the voters, but also just to show people how I'm willing to earn the opportunity to represent them moving forward in 2022. So like I say, once more, thank you for having me on. I'm excited to share and build and grow.
Absolutely, man. And like tell everybody who I have on here, I'm not here to tell anyone who to vote for. I'm here to just give people a platform. They say what they say, and the audience can take it from there and choose who they want to vote for. So it's gonna be a great opportunity for all of us. Before we jump into the political side of things, I just want to know who you are as a person, Major, your upbringing, where you're born, your environments, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Originally from Dallas, Texas, born and raised, single parent household. I have three siblings, an older sister named Tina, a younger sister by the name of Ebony, and Amanda, and my mom, Anita. I had a very, I guess, interesting childhood early on, but I was always very ambitious. I was an entrepreneur very early on. I was a kid that would be at the car washes selling car incense. I would be the kid with the one beat up lawnmower, asking all the seniors in the community to mow their lawns for $5 or $10. And so I've always been that type of individual, and I got into sports really early on. Really had ambitions to play professional basketball. I was really into church. That's the foundation of everything that I kind of stand for. Went to church all the time in the South. At one point when I was 14 years old, I kind of professed that I wanted to be a pastor. That kind of got overwhelmed with my love and participation in sports. And then also, have an affinity to play instruments and music and entertainment and things of that nature. But went to Louisiana Tech University as far as education. I went to 3 different colleges, which for me, it was the greatest opportunity because it gave me a great variety of social skills. So I started out at a community college. It's called Trinity Valley Community College in Athens, Texas. I did 1 year there and was blessed to be able to go and walk on at Louisiana Tech University. And just have the greatest experience there for 2.5 years. And then I finished my collegiate basketball career at Eastfield College in Mesquite, Texas. And from there, tried to pursue an NBA career. So I had a lot of, great opportunities, and it didn't manifest in regards to me hitting the hardwood as an NBA player. But, I learned so much from the marketing and business aspect in regards to sports, because that's what I studied in school. Moved to California by 2001. Actually, I didn't move to California in 2001. I came to visit in 2001, but on the 3rd day, I met a girl and I never went back. So that's the
story.
There
you go. There you go.
So, 20 years later, I'm with my wife, Asia, and we have 3 amazing boys, Carlo, Lord, and York, a 9-year-old, 8-year-old, and a 9-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So you can imagine how robust and active my household is. As far as politically, I got into politics, about 4.5 years ago. From the ground level of marketing and social media behind the scenes, but working very closely with the candidates and campaign managers. Got more educated and had an affinity to want to help. Been a part of the nonprofit sector for the last 15 years. I have a nonprofit called Major Kicks for Kids. And so I've always had an affinity to add value to the world. to my community, and now in this instance to be able to add value to our state, which I feel like personally we need a lot of help in a lot of different areas. It's going to take someone with a unique skill set in order to restore California.
Right. And the beautiful thing about the channel that I'm building here is that I'm not just talking to politicians, I'm talking to a variety of people. And in this year, this very divisive year, we see people who may not fit a certain label. I think someone like you is an outlier. When you think of, when you hear the phrase Black Republican, people are like, what?
Right.
What? So I'll be interviewing a lot of people who don't fit certain labels on this channel. So for you, when was that moment where you were like, oh, I think I'm Republican. I think I have conservative values. What was that journey like for you?
Well, honestly, it was actually identified, to me. I was working on a lieutenant governor campaign with a gentleman by the name of Cole Harris. He was running for lieutenant governor. Once we had the vetting conversation, he's a good friend of mine for the last 9 years, but we never talked politics, and I never knew his political party. And of course, he would assume that mine is Democrat, which it was, because I was Black, of course. And so it's kind of like by default, if you're not understanding of policy and what's been detrimental to your communities, which he was able to bring me. He was able to educate me and enlighten me on certain policies, and it's more so about that conversation was what actually turned me, so to speak, or red pilled me, as a lot of people say.
Red pill.
So it's like 3.5, 4 years now that I've been a conservative and a Republican, and that I always make a reference or share a disclaimer. Even being a Democrat, even back in the day, it was solely by default. It wasn't because I've studied policies or looked into the candidates. It was just because my grandfather, my grandmother, my mother, everyone I was around was just, by default, Democrats. Until you start investing your time into studying what's been helpful or harmful to you or your communities or people around you, then you get a better sense of how to make a better decision, and how I live my life, the things I represent, having a foundation of God, being someone that's against mandatory vaccinations, against big government overreach and making people small. Those are all things that I stand against and stand for at the same time, which is what propelled me to actually come into this leadership role and want to go after this tough, difficult job, which I know is actually possible at this particular moment in time.
Right, absolutely. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's like a whole walk away campaign going on.
Yes.
Walk away. And so in 2020, you'll see a lot of minorities. You'll see a lot of Blacks, a lot of Latinos, a lot of
Right.
LGBTQA community members who are walking away from the left and kind of opening their eyes to what the right offers to them. So why do you think in this year, I mean, we even see a lot of people running for public office on the local and state level who are Republican, but also minorities. They're women. They're different. They're Muslims. There's different religions. So, for you, why do you think this year in particular a lot of minorities are running Republican on the local and state level?
Well, I think it's kind of like the situation where I had, where they may haven't had like that individual person to kind of like, bridge the gap in regards to information politically and also through policy. That we have social media, and I think that kind of expedites the learning curve in regards to the information that's been shared by other people that they may trust, or other people that they may know, or something that they just stumbled upon as well. And so when you're in a space to be able to not only be educated about something, but to also see it physically happening in your communities and around you every single day, it helps you formalize that aha moment, so to speak. And so I think that's one of the biggest reasons why these things are happening. I think we're having better messengers that are sharing the message in regards to the different parties, so to speak. And Brandon Strzok is a good friend of mine. I spoke on a panel here in LA for the Walkaway movement as well. So I'm very in the know of what he's doing and why he actually created what he created, because he, like so many others, had that aha moment, and it just took that one interaction to really make him think and allow him to go and do his own research to come to the conclusion of who he is now and what he's actually doing now. And it's no different than me and millions of others that are stepping up as well. So for me personally, being a conservative on this side at this point, I'm excited about everything that's going on with people waking up and people understanding. And I tell people it's not really about trying to convert people to Republicans. It's just about trying to revert you to understand how to vote in the future. It's about policy, who's beneficial for you. And, and I think as a voter, we have to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable and look in that mirror and make sure that we're not just voting just because of ideology or symbolism of that particular party. It has to truly be about those individual persons, people, and the policies that they are representative of. And I think that's an important part that people are starting to wake up to.
Absolutely, yeah. 'Cause I think nowadays people see more than labels. They see more than, okay, people throw words at other people like xenophobe and racist and misogynist, but then if you look at actual policies and what's going on, it may kind of wake you up to, oh, okay, it's not just words and labels. There's actual policies to look at when deciding on who to vote for. So
For sure.
you are running against Gavin Newsom in 2022. Whether or not people like him, his name is well known, right? Especially nowadays with COVID going on. So for you, what's your strategy in taking him on for being the California governor?
Yeah, I think it really does come down to strategy and just understanding the importance of messaging. When you can solve a problem in this day and age, in this era in America, you can become wealthy. But if you can solve a problem through public service, you can actually gain votes and you can gain support from people that may not actually even agree with you 100%. And I think we're in a very unique time and we have a great opportunity to capitalize on solving some of these issues in regards to what's going on in the aftermath and how you deal with certain things. And the best thing that we have going for us is some of the missteps that he has made. So it's actually doing the work for us. What we would do as a strategy is just make sure that we highlight those things continually on our campaign so voters can be aware of the decisions that affected their small business. Voters can be aware of over the 40 bills that he has passed with our legislators being on board. That voters can be aware of all those harmful things that he has done during his tenure as governor to make them to help them come up with a better solution or choose something as an alternative, which is myself in regards to what I'm representing. But also just having the foundation of just, my faith. I know it's possible. I know that the timing says that a lot of people are frustrated with his brand and leadership. We are in a different era. And I think a lot of times people do not look at that aspect of how we are evolving as humanity, as people through the experiences that we're having here in this country, and also in this state. And I think it's not about, hanging our hats on making California red, which that'd be great. But it's really about making California have the leadership that's representative of who we are currently today, and also what we would like to be in the future.
Gotcha. Amazing answer, by the way. What are your stances on certain issues? Because that's what people are going to vote on, your stances on issues. So what are your main points on your platform when running against Newsom?
Well, early on right now, just from a foundation of how I personally live my life, I'm a strong advocate that's fighting against SB 276 and SB 277, which is something that I really have a strong affinity for, and that's for mandatory vaccinations. And I always make sure that I share this disclaimer with people that are listening. We have multiple fights to fight when it comes to leadership, and especially when I become governor. But one thing that I'm not championing for right now is to fight fights that are not necessarily tanking our city, and it's not going against us restoring our state, so to speak. I'm sorry. And so I'm not against anti people who actually vaccinate. This is not what this is about. This is about fighting for parents and their kids who are afraid or who have had medical vaccine injuries. They need to have choices. And so as a parent, that's something that I'm standing up for very strongly. In addition to our Second Amendment rights and our amendments, our freedoms are being restrictive on, it seems like every other week they're coming up with different restrictions for gun owners, and they're punishing us all because as you know, once more, there's not a duality of thought when it comes to leadership. It's kind of like a one size fit all. But also, you know, some of the things I stand for is lower taxes, lower property taxes, and making sure that we have an influx of cash and revenue for small businesses that have been struggling, that are being closed down. You can go in any town, whether it's a affluent town or it's a just an okay town or whatever the case may be. You can go down any strip and see so many businesses that are closing now. And so as a leader, we have to have a different brand of leadership, someone that's actually going to champion for the empowerment of our small business community, that's going to support our gig community and repeal AB5 or AB50, I believe. You know, bills like that, you know, hurt communities that have found a niche in a way to secure a living for themselves. So why would we attack that? And that's what we're dealing with some of these Democrat policies that have been implemented. And so I want to go in and I want to govern with a collaborative effort. And I think that's what's been missing here in California. We go in, a lot of these guys go in as if they are they are the professionals at all things. And my greatest success in anything in my personal life and in business has come from a collaborative effort. And so for me, it'd be a copy and paste in leadership in the same way. I love taking criticism. I love taking different point of views and figuring out how to mesh it together so it's beneficial for a majority more so than a minority.
Let's go there. Actually, you brought it up, so let's go there.
Yeah.
What was the initial response from people when you announced that you're running? Good and bad. People who were for you and people who were against you. What was that? What was the initial response?
For sure. Well, I will say that, you know, my intention was not to run. If people follow me, they know I just recently ran for mayor of Pasadena. I was a first-time candidate, a Black conservative Republican in a very liberal town. And I was kind of like, there were bets going on that I would only get 100 votes. Why would they say that? The reason why they said that is because in 2015, some very prominent Black people ran actually in this particular city. And, you know, one of the candidates only got 512 votes, you know, out of close to 20, 30,000 votes at that particular time. And so, you know, I had all odds up against me, but, you know, I came in with better messaging. I put in the work. I did the groundwork. And I stole the voting block over 8.5%, over 4,000 something votes. So you can see the progress. And so that's why we're copy and pasting that on a larger scale. And tell me ask me that question one more time. I think I was
just curious as to people's initial reaction to you running,
so
whether it's good or bad.
The reaction actually is pretty great. But how we got to that is that after my campaign, I created the new California Governor Committee. The point and reason of the new California Governor Committee was so I could stay active and be a champion for the next candidate that was going to run for governor of California. During that process of meeting with different candidates or potential candidates and individuals trying to make them a candidate, should I say, 90% of the consensus kept coming back to them, pointing at me, saying, "No, Major, you should run." And, you know, I'm the president of the California Governor Committee. I was like, wait a minute, I created this to champion someone else. I didn't necessarily see myself because I wasn't looking at it from the scale of where it actually is now. I was looking at it from a competitive scale like sports. Like I just lost a championship, you know, in March. I can't just jump back in, you know, after a loss. But a unique thing happened, and I shared this story a couple of days ago. Oftentimes when I have tough decisions or I'm facing an obstacle, being a man of faith and having a foundation of spirituality, certain things happen to me as far as symbolism or someone is used to like push me in the right direction. The night before I decided I was going to run for governor of California, I had a dream. Oftentimes, my grandfather is that vessel. He's not a man of many words, but when he came to me in this dream, he basically said two things. He said, "Step up." And immediately, I knew what that meant. I woke up in a cold sweat. I woke my wife up. She wasn't happy. And
I couldn't this wait till morning?
Right, exactly. And so, you know, I told her what happened, and she looked at me, she grabbed both of my hands, and we prayed. Once our eyes opened, I realized that this is what I was called to do, and this is what I was going to do. And so once I made that decision, we decided to do an online poll. We reached out to over 500,000 past voters in California, and it was liberals, conservatives, independents, Tea Party, you name it. We targeted everyone. And to our surprise, over 90% of, 90% of approval came back from over 500 people that was polled. We were blown away, and we was like, wow, this could be something that could actually work. And ever since then, we've been plowing forward. So the response has been great thus far. We know that once we move higher up on the radar in regards to the success that we're having early on, and other candidates jump into it or whatever the case may be, there's going to be pushback from other people. But I'm prepared for it. I've campaigned 2 years before working to become mayor. So I'm kind of like still in the mode of that, having that thick skin, absolutely.
Well, you're hitting the ground running now rather than like
Yes.
next year. So we're in a very contentious time. A lot of things are going on the socially,
Right.
A lot of people of color are in pain. They feel overlooked or overshadowed. What message do you have for them, especially for those who feel like, who've experienced police brutality or other forms of racism? What's your message for them?
Right. So one of the things that I did was even like when you touch on the pain aspect of it is, we always have to try to understand where it comes from and how to address it accordingly, right? Because sometimes their anger and rage puts us in a different place that kind of negates the progress that we're actually looking for. And so one of the things that I personally did with Joe Collins and Robert Foster, we went out to Minneapolis after George Floyd was killed. And one of the main reasons that we went out there, because the media was portraying a certain narrative that we wanted to make sure that was either true or untrue, but we wanted to see for ourselves. And so when we went out there, it actually ended up being a lot of falsehoods that was being shared with us on the media, on the ground level. And so we were able to kind of infiltrate these different rallies and these different groups, and they welcome us with open arms, and we were able to diffuse a lot of tough situations and tough conversations and interactions out there. Fast forward, we was out there 4 days, and we decided to have a rally. That rally, when I walked up to the rally, it was like 500 people. So mind you, not being from there, and it had 500 people, my mind was blown. I was like, this is great, because we had been speaking every day in different communities at different rallies, just to make sure that if we are going to peace, make sure it's peaceful, but also beyond protesting, make sure that we have a plan after the protesting is over, so we implement action through policy and electing local people in your area that's going to be governing in benefit of you and your community. And so what happened was something that was very magical, and it was historic. We had 500 people. By the time we finished at our ending point, we looked behind us. Someone let us know we're in suits and we're sweating and we're focused. We looked behind us, and there was 30,000 people behind us.
Wow.
30,000 people we were able to speak to about making sure that we take advantage of this opportunity and momentum, and to make sure that we do it peacefully, because at the end of the day, my message is that we all wanted to go home to our families, but we all wanted to make sure that our communities were governed differently. And so that's going to come through amendment of guidelines. It's going to come through a certain type of reform when it comes to our police department. And those are the things that we talked about. And so if I'm sharing any message with anyone, we have to learn how to fight differently. And it's okay to have that anger, but you have to be able to channel that anger and match them through policy and guideline reform. And so that was kind of like the message that I had for the Black communities. It's kind of like the message that I had universally for everyone that was affected by that situation.
I want to piggyback off of that, because I feel like nowadays, especially on social media and news, they kind of, it can feel like this situation is about left versus right,
Right.
So in your words, in your opinion, what are the often misconceptions when it comes to Republicans and social justice and racial justice?
Well, I mean, the on the surface narrative is that Republicans are all white, Republicans are all racist, rednecks, KKKs, etc. And so, even as a Black man, I've been called a racist, I've been called a redneck, I've been called a KK member, I've been called a Nazi sympathizer, and all these different things that, to be honest with you, I'm not even knowledgeable about some of those, organizations, because I don't put my time and effort and energy into the negativity of it. I always kind of focus on the forward thinking and what I can control also in this universe while I'm here. And so, I'm gonna say this. Like, I just feel like, we're dealing with the good and evil. It's not really about, the left or the right. We're dealing with the good and evil. And if you can acknowledge that and make sane decisions based upon receiving and understanding that information, I think our society would be in a better place. But I think it's going to take better messengers that's living by that example, that's also governing by that example, to help usher us into that new climate of thought. So I'm looking forward to being one of those champions.
Yeah, absolutely. And in 2020, there's another hot topic issue, of course, with COVID. Of course, you're not governor now.
Right.
What if you were in Newsom's shoes? How would you have tackled this situation?
Right. So, I've been getting that question a lot lately, and it's a great question, but I always make the reference to, anyone can always say what they would do after the fact, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a cheat code, and it's not necessarily fair, to kind of like come up with all these great plans after the fact, right?
Yeah.
But what I will say, what could have ultimately been different is that we could have put a hard cap on the cutoff time in regards to the actual shutdown. So if you say that we're going to be shutting down to flatten the curve for 4, even maximum 6 weeks, I think as business owners, as human beings, we can kind of sympathize and just wait it out, because we're trying to figure out what's going on, and if how serious and deadly this virus is. But to have it linger on with the statistics and data that has become available, I think it's a bit harsh. I think it's out of touch with reality. So what I would have done differently, like I said, I would have put a hard stop on 6 weeks, and I would allow certain businesses in certain counties that had a low propensity of mortalities as far as deaths. And also, looking at the recovery rate, like, if Gavin Newsom is saying that he's making decisions based upon science, but never actually professes what science that is, because we're looking at something totally different, right? We also are living in a country where we have diseases and viruses that exist today that is more fatal than what we're dealing with right now in regards to the numbers of deaths. And so I think it was twofold. I think it was politicized, and it was an opportunity to grab power, because being in the position he is in now, being able to pass bills without the legislation being being a part of the process, that is very strange and very interesting. It's something that we all have to make sure that we look at, especially the actual bills on what he actually put attention to pass. And we're going to bring a lot of education in regards to what those bills are and how they affect our voting system, how they affect our communities, and how they affect our quality of life here in California. So if I was the governor of California, the one thing that I know for a fact I would have done is not extend it in regards to the shutdown, so we wouldn't have such a harsh reality that our small businesses are dealing with, our entrepreneurs are dealing with currently right now. Our low-income communities were hit very hard by this. And, it's hard to play catch up, and then you are offering loans to supplement some of the time that has been lost, but that's actually great business for debt companies, right?
Oh, okay.
So you go from one situation to another situation. That's not really relieving. That's actually adding more to your plate. And so being a leader, being a next governor, that's something that I would have foresaw, and that's something that I would have totally worked to avoid.
Now, I love talking politics with you, or at least hearing you talk about politics. Let's go back and talk to you about you as a person, as a human being.
Sure.
I think there's politics aside, I think it's always great to get to know somebody from the other end of things. So, lightning round, if you don't mind, I just want to know you as a human being. What are you watching nowadays? What are you binge watching?
Binge watch Westworld.
Okay. What season are you on?
Wherever it ended, I'm done with it. I'm waiting on new ones to come. Another show that I binge watched a while back during the quarantine, of course, right? I believe it was what was the show? Insecure with my wife. She loves that show. I can't say that I'm the biggest fan, but I'm the biggest fan of my wife. So I sit there and I watch it.
There you go.
And I love watching documentaries and stuff like that, especially when my kids are with me. So we partake in a lot of documentaries and things of that nature.
Gotcha. Okay. Last book you read?
The last book I read was Capitalism.
Fair enough. Very, very good. What's your favorite restaurant in California?
Favorite restaurant in California is a family-owned restaurant. It's called Foothill Restaurant. It's amazing food, amazing staff, amazing ambiance, and it's not far from my house, so that's convenient as well. So Foothill Restaurant.
Okay. I gotta write that down. I gotta check that out someday.
You
Which
have
city is
to.
that
It's
in?
amazing. It's
Which
in
city?
Pasadena.
Okay. Hey, I live in Hollywood, so
Oh, there you go. When you go,
uh,
ask for Jim and tell him I sent you. He's a great guy.
fantastic. Who is your celebrity influencer?
My celebrity influencer, I would say Morgan Freeman.
Okay.
Yeah, I like Morgan Freeman.
I love hearing his not say speeches, but I love hearing his sound bites from
Oh my
interviews
God,
that
he's the
he's
best.
on the news. Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. Music. What are you listening to nowadays?
Um, what am I listening to? I still listen to rap music. I like Jay-Z. The 444 album is an album that I listen to. I love Aretha Franklin.
Okay,
I have an old soul when it comes to that. Aretha Franklin, Smokey Robinson, um, and then I listen to like a lot of Bollywood and classic music.
yeah,
That's my wife's thing as well. So yeah, that's the kind of like on the surround sound at our
gotcha.
house.
And I think you'll love this question. Favorite passage of scripture.
Favorite passage of scripture? Oh gosh, um, there are so many of them. What's the best one that I could actually share right now that could make sense? That's a good one. I was asked that question like 7 days ago, and I
Yeah,
totally bombed on it because my memory is so shot because it was such a long scripture, but it resonates with me so well, and I kind of like have it as an affirmation. As far as when I read and turn to it. But I will share an affirmation with
okay.
you that's really dear to me. It's that a man who shows up that's about legacy is meant to, what is it? A man that is about legacy is meant to be legendary. So a man that's about legacy is meant to be legendary. It gives you this innate feeling of confidence and the innate feeling of power. And so that's something that I always kind of like say to myself, because everything that I do now is kind of on the scale of what my legacy would be, but also uh, what is it that my kids would say about me at my funeral, so to speak,
Mm,
right? Everything that I do now is kind of under the pretense of knowing that I'm being watched by three young boys
yeah,
that are very impressionable as far as looking up to me. And so, me not having a father and having that mentorship in house, so to speak, it actually pushed me to when I got to that place when I became a father to make sure that I was one of those figures that was very active and involved in my kid's life, but just very um, aware of my moves and actions. And I'm saying this now as a 43-year-old man. It took a while to mature to get to this place,
yeah.
but that's always been the foundation of what I wanted to become for the sake of my kids coming up and my nephews as well.
Love it. Love that. Last lightning round question. Favorite inspirational quote.
Um, doing the exact same thing over and over again and expecting different results is called insanity.
I think if you check insanity in the dictionary, say that. Before we go, Major, in brief, or you can go as long as you want.
Yeah.
Simple question. Why should Californians vote for you in 2022?
I think California should vote for me because I provide an alternative. I provide something new. I provide something different. Oftentimes, when I'm having conversation with people locally, I said, when it comes to how you're going to vote, you have to change your ideology and your mindset. You have to change the questions that you're asking these candidates. You have to actually look at plumbers and electricians and champion them to be able to run. The reason why I say that is because they look at the so-called tough issues way differently than the traditional politician that's been a part of politics for a very long time, because they only think that you can only solve problems from a certain way. They lack imagination. In the era that we're in currently right now, I would say that we need someone like my type of leadership that isn't afraid to have that imagination, that isn't afraid to question the process. If you allow these people to continue to hide behind a process or legislation, we will never get anywhere that's going to be beneficial for us as a state, as a community. And so I would say vote for me because I represent that 100%. And I will continue to fight for not only today, tomorrow, the next day, and the next month, and the next year. I never give up. And I think that we need someone that's representative of that, that's coming from that foundation of wanting to add value to our cities, our counties, and ultimately, for sure, our state.
Last but not least, where can folks check you out, either on social media or online?
Yeah, so I need everyone to join my mailing list. That's easy to do. You go to www.newcagov.com. We are updating information daily in regards to bio and also policy. As far as social media platforms, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Major CA Gov. Is that right? Major CA Gov. On Twitter and on Instagram. As far as Facebook, it's at Major CA Gov as well, as far as my like page. But I also do have a personal page, which is just Major Williams. Please bear with me. I'm getting so many friend requests, and I guess it stops us at 5,000. And so one of the extended ways that differs from my leadership than any other candidate that would jump into this race, or even Gavin Newsom, is that I'm more accessible than any candidate is willing to be. I also provide my phone number as well, which is 626-623-3753. If you really want to get in touch with me, if you want to host a meet and greet, if you want to host a fundraiser, or if you just have a question for me, feel free to reach out to me, and we will make sure we answer those questions to the best of our ability. But understand that our platform is our platform today, but it can easily grow into what everyone, where everyone can benefit from it, because I believe any candidate that comes into this race, especially this early, that has it all figured out, that has a perfect platform that works for everybody, that's not the candidate that we need, and that's not the next type of leadership that we need moving forward. It has to be able to evolve from a collaborative effort. So
And anything can change in the next 2 years for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Williams, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Take care.